Life is precious, and we all have the opportunity of living it to the fullest. Unfortunately, so few of us know how to manage it all. How do we account for our opportunities? How do we account for our time? How do we account for our relationships, health, spirituality, homes, finances, influence, and careers? How do we account for the one life we have to live? I am so glad you asked. In this program, you will find answers to all of these questions and more. Welcome to the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the healthy accountant himself, Jay Moore.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome back. Happy Monday. It's the Account for Life podcast, and today, how to discover your creative side. How to discover your creative side, whatever that means, creativity. Guys, if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel and you're catching this, go subscribe, hit the notification bell so that we can pretty much let you know when we're doing these live podcasts. We do them every day at 9 a.m. Eastern time, and the podcast is only about 10, maybe 15 minutes. So it doesn't take up a lot of your time. And, we're just kind of giving you just, really, simple principles, tactics, and leadership hacks, if you will, on how to really account for the thing that matters the most, which is your life. So why did I name today's topic, how to discover your creative side? Well, I will let you know how to discover it. And I'm also going to share with you just kind of like what I was thinking about as I was going into the creation of this topic today, which is being creative and how do you discover that? Yesterday, I took some time. I sat down with the first draft of the book, really not even the first draft, probably the second draft, where I kind of pushed it out, had some editing done. Then I read through it, just maybe a couple fine tweaks with a couple of things still to be done. And I was reading it, got through it, and I was thinking about it. And think about this. Let me ask you a question. When was the last time you created something? When was the last time you created something? What do you mean create something? I don't create things. Yeah, you should. When was the last time you created something? It could be you made a drawing, it could be maybe you sew, it could be you cook or something. But either way, when was the last time you created something? And when you created it, what kind of process did you go through? Think about it. What kind of process did you go through? Whenever I cook, a lot of times, if I know I'm going to cook today, which I'm not going to cook today, if I know I'm going to cook today, my mind starts to prepare, right? Say with me, oh, my mind prepares. Yes, my mind starts to prepare. My mind gets a picture. My mind will grab a picture and say, hoo, that's what I want to eat. And then my mind said, well, what do we have? And then all of a sudden, the mind will go into the refrigerator. The mind will go into the spice cabinet. The mind will go wherever it needs to go, the freezer, to figure out what's in there. And then says, well, it's not in there. So what do? Then the mind says, oh, go here, and get those things. And then come back and then make it. By the time I make it, I already know what it looks like. I already know what it tastes like. And then you just go through the motions of, maybe, an hour, 30 minutes, like if you're Rachel Ray, the 30-minute meal lady. So think about this. We all have creativity. Here's the thing. Here's what's interesting about this creative side is that many of us, like the person who can really cook, who did not become a chef or who did not become a person who has a restaurant or something like that, who caters, that person was told, well, no, what, you should probably get an accounting degree. Oh, no, you should probably become a doctor because that's way better. Oh, no, you should probably become a school teacher. Oh, no, you should probably become a nurse, or you should probably become a mailman, a fireman, a police officer. Like they're telling you all these other things to do with it needs none of your creativity to start because it first has to dumb you down. It says you're dumb. You don't know anything about this topic. So let me give you all these theoretical terms. Right? Give you all these theoretical terms. I was thinking about my son, Jared. He's already done 2 years in college. And as he's done these 2 years in college, I asked him, I said, Jared, what'd you learn last year? I don't know, Dad. Why? Because they're dumbing him down with stuff that doesn't take him where he wants to go. I'm not saying you should be well-rounded. Why? I'm just being honest. What I need, like, if it's not needed, then I shouldn't actually have to do it if it's really not needed. And a lot of things are just not needed. So as I read through the book, right? I read through the book and I'm sitting back and I'm saying, wow, where'd that come from? So I just kind of share with you kind of like this discovery process and, just by cooking kind of process I go through. And it was the same thing with writing a book. It was kind of like, now, if I was an educated book writer, I'm not an educated book writer. If I was an educated book writer, I'd probably do it way different. I was looking at a book that I'm still reading this called 2X is Better Than 10X by Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan. And I'm reading this book and they've got all these terms at the end. Oh, these are all the sources that we gathered from. Like they go through a real research It's a research process. I just went in and came out. Now, here's the thing. Did it come from things? Did I get inspiration by other books? Did I get inspiration by other people? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, those things. It's one of these things where it's kind of like you pull it out. Now, I thought about this, man, well, what if I go through the chapters and did that come from this? Let me see if I can find it. Almost like to go back and say, well, maybe I got an idea from this particular thing. And I think that's how it goes. But when you're discovering your creative side, it's literally, figuratively, it's absolutely just kind of like, who am I really on the inside? Who am I really on the inside? Yesterday, we talked about the journey. And yesterday, we talked about how, you have goals. Goals can be smart, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and, time bound. Goals can be very smart. However, a journey can't be smart. A journey can't be smart. Why? Because you may not get to the end of the journey. You may get to the end of a journey, but you won't get to the end of the journey. Say it again, especially if you had a vision, right? If you got a vision, when we did our presentation this past week, one of the driving forces in someone's success is the vision, right? The vision is what you can see. Like I can see there. But here's the thing. I can see there, but the thing about seeing it is that I can't quite see it. I can't quite feel it yet. Why? Because then there has to be something that's going to drive me. What? There has to be purpose, right? Purpose is the reason that I need to see it, right? So you got purpose now, kind of like being okay. If I'm creating this vision and I have a really good reason for doing it. See, the interesting thing about having reasons is I just heard somebody talking about excuses, and man, excuses are wild, man. Like think about the excuses that you may have made because maybe you're not where you want to be. Man, I've made a lot of excuses in my life, and even sometimes when I come do the podcast, I feel like, man, I'm not further along. I'm not enough. But then I think about Jim Rohn when he says, have you reached your day of disgust? Like, have you gotten to the point, Jay Moore, that you are so disgusted that you just can't take it anymore? It's like, So this creative side that we have needs reasons. Right? Because if the reason is not strong enough, then we won't do anything. It's kind of like, every day when I create a podcast, I'm testing. It's a test. What do I mean? It's a test. Like, literally, I don't write it down. I don't script it up. I don't have any specific points that I'm going to make. But just like I told you how I cook, it does the same thing. My mind grabs a hold of, is that the topic? And then it goes bam, 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 bam. And then next thing you know, we start the podcast and we're delivering it. See, this is my process. So if you were discovering your creative side, it's to kind of figure out what could you test every single day to test whether or not you were being creative. Man, did I say that well enough? What could you test every day, right? To really discover what your creativity is. My creativity is taking my thoughts. It's funny because my friend Shauna, she says this. She says, Jay, you're a thinker. You think. Like, and so by the time you're saying it, it's kind of you've already thought about it. And sometimes you're deep. Now, when she told me that, I says, I'm deep. I am. I was like, I'm deep? Me? She says, you're deep. She says, so you're so deep. Like, I could be deep on these podcasts, probably. She says, sometimes you're so deep, man, it may be too much for people. And I says, you know what? What comes natural to me, my creativity, may not be natural for you. That's why it says how to discover your creative side. See, because I've discovered a creativity within me to bring out specifically what I personally possess. And that's probably part of like anytime that I can't speak from within myself, I have a hard time with it. I'm just like, I don't feel right. Like, because if it's not on the inside, then I'm just talking from the outside. And I don't want to talk from the outside. I know it BS. I know Jay Moore, and I know when I've BS before, like, just talking. And I hate that because I want to talk from the inside. So if you were discovering your creative side, let me ask you a question. I'm about to let you go. If you were discovering your creative side, where would you start? Where would you start? Yeah, where would you start if you were discovering? Go to the thing that you last created. Like, did I create something? It doesn't matter what it is. Go to what you last created. Yeah, go to what you last created, because then you want to go into that thing and say, well, how did I do that? So, like I said, when I discover my creative side, with cooking, that's when I found something. Mine goes out, has the picture. All of a sudden, it knows the ingredients. And if I don't have something, goes, gets it. And then by the time I get into the process of doing it, it's like, oh, this is good. I made some beef ribs. It's the last story. I made some beef ribs on 4th of July. And I've made beef ribs many times. A lot of times, the times when I've made them, I made a different cut. So they have these almost like steak cuts where I've made, a lot of times I would make them in the house because I'm not necessarily smoking them or doing them on the barbecue grill. But I hadn't made them on the barbecue grill the whole time in a long time. But here's what happened. I wanted those beef ribs to be so succulent, and I wanted them to taste so good. And so my mind went to, I need some hickory. I need some hickory wood. I need that hickory. I need that mesquite wood. Went, got the mesquite wood, went and, my brother bought the beef ribs, got the fire going. I said, oh, I know I keep the fire, this indirect heat. So for me, I placed the ribs on the side where the heat isn't, but I've got the fire. I got the fire nice and hot to start, right? It's like an oven, got the fire about 350, 400. It kind of gives it a char, even indirect. So by the time it drops down, after a few hours, that thing is so good. And when we had those ribs, we were like, they were good. I created that. Now, I didn't cut the meat. I didn't go kill the meat. I didn't have to cut it off. I didn't have to go cut it off the cow. But I created a masterpiece that if I had to do it again, I can do it over and over again. So when you discover your creative side, find a way to test it. Test whether or not you can do it over and over and over and keep getting a result. Because when you get to the point where you can do it over and over and over and keep doing this, getting the same result, like I keep doing these podcasts over and over, figure out how can I do these podcasts in 10 minutes, 11 minutes, 15 minutes? How can I come up with new topics and actually come up with points? That's when you know what your creative side is, when you can do it in your sleep. When you can do it without thinking about it, when you can do it without any preparation, that's when you know you've stepped into who you are, not just who you want to be. So get out there, make some tests, discover your creative side. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow on the Account for Life podcast. Jay Money Health Accountant, helping you to account for your life. God bless, and I'll see you on the next episode. Peace.
Thanks for joining us, listening friends. We are so glad you invested this time with us. Always remember, you only have one life to live, so live it to the fullest. This has been the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the healthy accountant himself, Jay Moore. Until next time, make it a great day.